All right. I think on the last week we just did an introduction of JQuery, right? So we looked at it as in it's a library written on JavaScript, and it is actually, it will ease the developers work with some utility functionalities that is provided by jQuery library. So for example, it's basically giving you simplified ways of accessing the document object model, which is the HTML DOM. So basically you can tap into elements like h1s, paragraphs, divs, and do various things. Say, for example, you can manipulate CSS, and you can attach events so that you can handle click events, mouse over events. So the types of events that that is supported by the browser. So just we have gone through this, and we actually looked at ID targeting and class targeting last week. So I'll just refresh you on that. So here, let's say for example, I have a page .html, and I'll just put in a skeleton here, HTML5 skeleton, and I'll have an h1 intro to jQuery. Right, and I'll have a paragraph, or maybe I'll have a div with some content, and also I'll have this content replicated. So we have two divs here now, right? One is with ID first, and the second one is with an ID of second. Right. So we have these two stuff, and I'll give classes as well. Class first, and here we have a class of second. Right, in order to run this, I'll just use the live server extension that usually you know. So if you go to extensions from here, if you are online, you can just install live server. Okay, I hope you know that. Okay, so this one. So once you install that, you can have this go live button. So let's go there, go live. So that will open up a browser window like this, and I'll have that to the side of it, and this go to this side. I'll just so that we can see the changes live. So here, so basically we could just change the title, jQuery. So you will see here, and we can put in some styles. Right, so I'm going to target first and second. So these are two divs, right? So basically I can target the div and put in a border, 1 pix solid red, right? And I want to space it out, so basically I'll give a margin, maybe a margin bottom of 20 pixels. Right, so we have the spacing. So here we have two divisions. So this is the second one, second right? So in order to have a jQuery referenced, we will have to have jQuery referenced here through a script tag, right? So referencing jQuery, we have two ways, as I discussed. First way is to go to the CDN. So that's on the cloud, jQuery CDN. Right, so basically you can pick one of these uncompressed, and here you will have a a script tag here ready to get copied. So this is how you reference it through the internet, and this is the how we use that is through a script tag. Here, if you want, you can give the type as well. Script type equal text/javascript, and normally to use jQuery, what we would do is this thing is kind of you will have to memorize this. So that's a document. So basically you are targeting the document, and there's an event called ready, right? And within the ready you can have a function, callback function, right? Function doesn't have to have a parameter. You can just open and close like this, and here you can do the targetings. Say for example, so basically my paragraphs here, so this one, right now it's kind of broken, but what we can do is so we will have to do something here. Alert hello, right? Let's see, there's a problem here. Console error. All right, script. There seems to be a problem. Let's see what that is. Okay, you have the body. If I get rid of this, HTML script style. Okay, we still have a problem. Let's see, let's dispose this and go live again. Yeah, that's fine. Control Z. Still it works, and Control Z again. Yep, that's working. So there was a issue with the server, live server. That's no problem. So here basically what you need to do is, first, to use jQuery you can have a script tag which is pointing to an internet version of jQuery, right? So there's another way of referencing jQuery, which is within your file, within your folder, you can have this downloaded and then put it in your local disk itself and then reference it there. So basically how you download that is, you can go to, like, if you search jQuery download, right, and here the first link is download jQuery. If you go there, here there are like few versions, right? This is compressed. Compressed means the minified version, which is like the file is compressed to a smaller size, and uncompressed means you have the full code in it. It is not compressed. If you see this compressed version, see it's like all scrambled and it is minified, right? So this has a smaller size. So what we would go with the development is uncompressed version. When you are like done with the project and you are going to deploy it to live server, you can have this compressed version because it will be faster, right? Because of the size reduction. So let's take this one. So go to jQuery download, and if you scroll down a bit, you will have this download uncompressed version, right? So what you have to do is right click, save as, point to your folder where your files are, right? Do a save. So basically you will have this. Okay, so this is where my files are located. So to use that, I would go to page HTML, just get rid of this script. I don't need that. I would need a new script, src, and I would say the name of this file. Okay, so that's JQuery 350.js, right? So in this case, if I save this also, it should basically work, right? So I'll just get rid of this first and then rerun it again, stop it, and then go live. So here I have the result, right? Okay, so that's how you reference jQuery files. So there are two ways. Now let's move on to something interesting. So here, so we have like ID and class, right? So there are two things. So if I want to have this, target this, I could just do pure CSS like this one, right? I'm doing a class targeting, right? I'll just get rid of this. This is annoying. Just get rid of that. Okay, so first I'm targeting this one as the class targeting, right? Now this is pure CSS. I want a font, so I would do a color blue, right? As you can see, we can do that. And for the second one, I'll do an ID targeting. So that's like hash second, right? And you can do the same with a color purple maybe, right? So these are two different things that we can do. So this is like CSS stuff, how you target these paragraphs, these divs, right? So the same thing actually we could do with the jQuery. So how we do a targeting is you put the dollar and then a parenthesis. So within that you can do a class targeting as well, or an ID targeting. Let's say I want to do an ID targeting for the first one first, right? And I can manipulate CSS, right? And I can do a color change. I want the color to be red, right? See, you are instantly seeing the color change to red, right? And if you want to pass in multiple CSS attributes, you can do like chaining with this .css, right? That's one way of doing it. Otherwise, you can have, so I'll just comment it out, Control C, Control V. Here I would comment this, and you can actually have an object passed here. So this is a JavaScript object, right? So two curly braces, and each has, see, each has a key and a value. Okay, now I change the color. If I want to say, for example, I want to change the font size, I would say font size equal to, let's say, 12 pixels. See, the font size changed, right? So if I want like 16 pixels, I could do that. If I wanted 20 pixels, I could do this, right? So this is how you do multiple, CSS. So if I break it down, all right, this is like, mentioning the CSS like this, right? The only difference is now here you can see font size. In actual CSS, we would write it like this, font size, right? So with a dash, okay. But in this one, in the JavaScript version of it, we would do like this. Or if you want to like use the dash included, you can do something like this. Within the brackets, you could say font size, something like that, right? So that also works. So see, key, value, key and value, right? So you can stuck in many key value pairs like this, right? With different properties. Okay, so that's possible. So this is about CSS. There are some funky stuff that we can do here, like say for example, for the first one, if I want to like hide, I could do that, right? You see, the first one just went off, right? If I want to show that again, I could do that, hide and show again, right? And there are some other stuff as well, like fade out, see, and once it is fade out, you will have to have a fade in. See, it just disappears and appears, right? So there is something called slide up, slide down. Okay, so these are different things that you can try out. So these are like showing and hiding stuff, and actually you can, like, if you want, you can attach a function like this, a click function, right? And alert something, I am click, right? So this first div, I have attached a click event. So once you click on that, this function will run. Okay, there you go. I'm clicking on this, I'll get this alert, right? So now nice things you can do here. So basically, if you see it, once I click, if I want this to disappear, I could just tell dot fade out, right? So I'm clicking here, just fades out, right? So you can do funky stuff here, right? So this is basically JavaScript in action, JQuery in action, right? Click on it, fades out, fades in, right? If you want some delay, you can delay that also. So delay for like 100,000 seconds. Say 1000 seconds means 1 second. Okay, 1000 milliseconds means 1 second. So once you click on that, it fades out, and then wait for 1 second and then come back, right? So these things you can do. And one of the other things that I want to show is, now this is like targeting the ID. Okay, so similarly we can do a class targeting as well, right? So class is basically dot, and then let's say, for example, I want to attach a click event to this one using this class, second class. So that is what I'm going to do, right? So on the document ready function, right, I'm going to add this one, and I'm going to target second class, right? So that means it will be targeting this div, right, because of this class matching. And once I click on this, if I click on this, the first item will fade out and it will fade in. So when I click on this, this will disappear, first one, and come back. Okay, so that's what this code is telling. So I am clicking here. See, the first one went out and came in, right? So these are types of things that you can do. It's pretty cool. On a perspective of this JQuery selectors, so we looked at tag targeting as well. Tag is basically, in an HTML document. So this is an HTML document. In an HTML document, you have these tags, right? HTML, this head, whatever that comes in with a less than and greater than mark, and within that you have some sort of text, right? So these are tags. Body is a tag, h1 is a tag, div is a tag. So these are all tags. We can actually target tags as well. Okay, so if I say, instead of this, if I say div, right, and on clicking on the div, I can alert the alert some message, right? So this means div means, here we have in our body we have two divs, right? So this one and this one, right? And once I click on this, so this div is also listening for a click event. This div is also listening for a click event. So I click on this, it will show some message, and if I click on the second div also, it will show the same thing. So to differentiate it, I can alert the basically I can tap into this attributes. Okay, I can get this attribute. So that is like using this dot get attribute and ID, right? Let's say, let's try it if this works. See, when I click on this, it says first, which is this one. Okay, when I click on this, it says second, okay, which is this one, right? So basically, if you see, so once we have this callback function, okay, once we do a click, what is coming inside, that means this keyword, it is actually representing the HTML element. Okay, it is not actually JavaScript, right? So to show that, here I'll do a console log, right? I'm doing a console log. So what does a console log means is this one, right? You right click, inspect element, here you will see a console, right? So whenever I click on a div, this will log some message to here. Okay, so I'll just clear it up. This is the clear button. I am clicking on this. See, So it is logging the HTML element. It's not a Java jQuery object, right? It's a HTML element, raw HTML. So if I click on this, it will do the second one. Okay. If you want to, again, if you want to make this a jQuery object, right? What you will do is you will put a dollar and enclose this with this bracket. Okay. So it was like this. Now you have a dollar and like that, right? So now it's a jQuery object. Now what you can do is put some CSS if you want. Say for example, I want this border to be blue when I click on this div, right? So that could be done with a, a simple border, one pix solid and blue, right? So here I'm clicking on this. See, the border became blue, right? Once I click on this, border became blue. I click on this, its border became blue. Okay, so these are things that you can do. But if you did not have this dollar sign, this is an error, right? It will not work. See, you can see some errors here, right? But if you want to like use pure HTML version of it or pure JavaScript version of it, you can do something like this. This dot style dot border, right? So we are changing the border. Border is equal to one pix solid blue. So this is possible. See, so this is actually pure JavaScript. It's not jQuery, right? If you want to use jQuery, you would use it like this, dollar and then target the element using a tag targeting. So this is tag targeting, or you can do an ID targeting with a hash in front, or do a class targeting with a dot in front, right? So these are different ways you can do targeting, right? Any questions so far? Just let me know if you have any questions, or if you are not clear, I can. Okay, so it's okay. I want everybody's input. That's good. So it seems like it's all clear. All right. Now, another thing that I want to tell is, we are done with the tag targeting. So these things we did, right? The tag targeting, tag selector, right? And so this is how you get the attribute. So this also we looked at last week, right? So in jQuery there's a function called dot each, right? There's a function called each. It can be used to iterate through a collection of jQuery objects. Okay, so we can see what that is actually. So here we have two divs, right? Here we have two divs. Say for example, I have another div here. So that's a third div, right? ID and class doesn't have to match actually. You can give anything, but I would give like this third, right? So we have a third div. I would, for consistency's sake, I would do this first also, right? So we have first, second and third div. If you want to make it a little bit prettier, you can actually give a little padding here, padding of 5 pixels maybe. All right. So here my intention is to go grab all these divs, okay, grab all these divs and go through each of them and
Sir, I think your screen share is off.
all right. What happened? Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. I didn't notice what happened. Okay, so here we have a third div, right? So here I have the first, second, and third divs. What I did additionally is to put a padding for the div, right? So that's 5 pixels, so that's why this spacing is there. And let's see, what I want to do is to go through each of this div and print this IDs. Okay, so how to do that is, so basically I will just get rid of this click event, right? I want to target the divs, right? So what I would do is dollar and target the div. How do we target? It's the tag targeting. So this means it will target this div, and this div all together, right? And there is a jQuery function called each. Okay, so each will take a function. Here the VS Code, it's kind of supporting with the the definition of it. So we can pass in a function here. So that's a function, right? And that function can have two variables. One is in two parameters. One is index and the other one is the element. Right? I would simply say elim. Right? Element means so this is like a for loop, for each loop, where it will like the first index, the 0th index will be this one, the index 1 will be this, and index 2 will be this, right? Just we can console log this one, console.log the index first, index, comma, and then we can just do an elim here for simplicity's sake, and go to inspect and see in the console what we have, right? So I'm gonna save this again. See, these are the output. So 0th index, here 0th index, we have the div first, and the index 1 has second and index 2 has third, right? So in this case, element is also actually, it's not jQuery object, it's a JavaScript PO-HTML object, right? It's an HTML, PO-HTML DOM element. It's not a jQuery object. Okay, so what that means is, actually you can do this get attribute, okay, and you can do a elim.get attribute and give the attribute name, which is ID. What I want is ID. See, so I get the index, I get the ID here first, right? For you to show that, if I change this to first ID, right, here the result is first ID. Okay, so this is a way of tap into these attributes. It's using a for each loop. So basically the jQuery's for each loop is this one. So you target the elements and then dot each. Within the each you can give a function, right? So this is one way of doing it. There is another way of doing it. Say for example, I'll just copy this and comment that. So actually this So these are taking two parameters here. We can actually take only one parameter. Okay, but this will error out because I'm using element here. Instead of element, I can use something called this. Okay, so this means actually the targeted div elements, right? So on the first time it is targeting this div element, so that is this. Okay, this means on each round what is being targeted, and that is an HTML DOM element, right? So if we have a DOM element, you can do this, get attribute and ID. So this is basically JavaScript, a pure JavaScript method. And if you want to make this a jQuery element, as I mentioned earlier, you can do $ and wrap it with a parenthesis. Okay, now it's a jQuery object. jQuery objects normally don't have this get attribute, right? So here you can use a hide and show, do whatever you want. So basically, if I want to fade out everything, fade out each of these divs, I would do something like that. Fade out. See, all of the divs got fade out one by one. Okay, so these are kind of things that you can do. Actually, we don't want to fade out in a real scenario, but say for example, if there's a notification like, okay, you have done something wrong, and then if you want to hide it after like 1 second, you can do it with a fade out, right? Just put in a delay first and then do a fade out. So delay for 2 seconds and then fade out. See, so this is possible. And so we looked at tag targeting, ID targeting, and class targeting, right? Let's go into our slides pretty quickly. So that's about each. And the callback function, again, if you don't want to use the index also, right, you can actually get rid of that index, right? So that will also work, right? So instead of this, I would say a CSS color thingy, CSS color, and what is a good color? Orange, maybe. Color orange. So the values normally you will have to enclose it, right? Red with a double quote or single quote, right? So this is possible. Okay, so we looked at each with T different variations. One is index and item element passing 2 parameters, and the other one was passing only 1 parameter, which is index here, right? So that is also possible. Right, so here so these are things that we can do with jQuery. So the next thing we will have a look is it's regarding the attributes, right? So basically, say for example, now let's get rid of this. Let's say for example we didn't have this, and we have like different. So this div has two attributes right now, right? One is the ID, the other one is the class. So if we say another attribute like data dash name is equal to Shiham, right? So there are three attributes now. So how to tap into these attributes is basically you can come here, right, and target the div first, right? So how do you target the div? So here we have only one div, so because of that we can target like this. So that's possible. And then you run a for each loop, right? You run a for each loop. Actually what we would get is this, right? So this means whatever that div is, right? So here there is something called attributes. It's an array, right? So if I say let var attr is equal to this dot attributes, right? So I will get all the attributes. So let's console log and see what are these attributes, right? See, if you see here, so now this is the output. Okay, I'm targeting the div, so there is only one div, so it's basically giving out this one, right? If I take a look at this, so these are all attributes. Well, the first attribute is ID, then the second attribute is class, and the third attribute is data dash name, right? So if you want like the values also, right, because ID has first ID, right, class has first, and data name has Shiham. So if you want to take these values also out, you can basically do a for loop here, right? Okay, I'll just write this var I is equal to 0 from I less than attr's dot length, right, I plus plus. So you know how to write a for loop. So we have the for loop. What we need to do is attr's I, so that means on the first run it's the 0th index, and there is something called node name, so that's the value. So that's the attribute. Actually it's whether ID, it's whether class, or it's whether data name, okay? So that's node name. I'll console.log, and here to get the value we would say attr's I dot node value, right? So basically you can see here, I'll just put a column in the middle. See in the output, so we are looping through. So I'll just explain this whole thing. So I'm targeting the div, right? So this is the div. That is because there's only one div. It's being going through this. So for each div, because we have only one div, we are going to get only one div. So this will run only once. We are taking all the attributes of this div. So that is ID, class, data name, right? All the attributes. So it is stored in the attributes array. Then we are running through a for loop. So from I0 to attributes dot length, which is 3. So I less than 3, I plus plus, and we do a console log for attr's I. So on the first run it's 0th element, 0th ID, 0th attribute, so that is ID. and node name is ID, and we have the column here, right? And then attr I node value. So value is actually first ID. So this is node name, this is node value, right? So this is how you can tap into these attributes of a targeted element, right? So actually, if you wanted to basically target this one only, you could say like this, maybe hash first ID, right? It should also give the same thing. See, so this is how you do a attribute, getting the values of attributes, right? Actually, we looked at JavaScript objects last week, right? So a JavaScript object would be like this: a name value pair collection, and iterating through JavaScript object can be done something like this, right? So here's an example of a JavaScript object. Obj equals name is someone and age is 20, right? And then we can do a for prop in obj, right? And property name is prop, which is name and age, and value is obj, and we are giving the index. Index is the prop name again, right? So this is how you can do a loop through a JavaScript object. So if you want to see that in action here, var person has a name of Shiham, and comma has an age of maybe 34, right? So that's a JavaScript object here, and what you want to do is to loop through each of these, right? So basically okay, there's a problem it seems, but anyway, let's go for a for loop. For prop in person, right? I would do a console.log property is prop, right? And the value is person, right? And you give this and then the property, right? Let's go to this. Okay, so this there should be a semicolon here, a colon here, not a equal mark. So that is how you give a JavaScript object. Okay, so if you go to the console, you can see property is name, value is Shiham, property is age, value is 34, right? And if you want, you can give a function as well, like get name, right? It's a function. Okay, I can say, for example, it can alert the name, my name. Okay, so it has name, it has age, it has get name also, but it's a function, right? So that is possible. So if we look at the output here, again I have done the mistake. It's the same thing. It should be a column, right? So if you go to the console, you can see property name is Shiham, age is 34, and get name is the function. Okay, Any questions up to now? Okay, good. So this is actually yeah, Hiflan, do you have any question? Okay, so this is basically once we have a JavaScript DOM element, we can actually convert into a jQuery object using this, right? So I showed that. So if you enclose that DOM object with a bracket and this $sign, you can actually make it a jQuery object, and then you can perform some jQuery functions like the fade out, click event handling, CSS manipulation. So ton of stuff you can do with that once you convert a DOM object to a jQuery element. Okay. And another thing that I want to show is actually, let's comment this out. So if I target a jQuery object here, div, right? So if you want to see how many divs are there, right? How many targeted items are there? You can basically do a dot length. Okay, so dot length means now you are targeting the div. It will have the answer 1, 2, 3, right? And if you are asking for the length, it should give 3. Console.log. Right, if I save that and see here, see the length is 3. Okay, I'll just have this in the console log. I would say length is okay, length is 3. So if I target, say for example, if I have the same class in two things, now this is also second and this is also second, say for example. Now if I target with a class targeting of second dot second, see I will get length is 2 because I'm doing a class targeting. So this will not match because it has first, and these two will match because it has a class of second, right? And its length means how many elements are matched, right? So these two elements will be matched. So because of that, its length is 2, right? So that's another thing that I wanted to show, and you understand how we can go through this, right? So ID selector we have looked at. You have to put a hash mark in front, so that's done. And if you like, say for example, now you have the first ID, right? Say for example, I'm just targeting first ID and I'm printing it out. It's not the length, it's the element. Say for example, see for the element, what you are getting is a jQuery object. Okay, so by looking at this, you can tell, okay, it's a jQuery object, right? So this dollar mark with a target will give a jQuery object, right? If you want to really see the the HTML element, what you can do is do a bracket and a 0. So that's basically okay. So there's a no first ID, right? You have to target it like this. Yeah. So let's go from the beginning. If you have that, see what you get is an element and then a jQuery object, right? If you want to go into the underlying, JQuery, not JQuery, JavaScript object, DOM object, what you can do is just put the bracket and the index 0, right? So here element, and what you get is the element itself, actual element. So this is JavaScript object, it's not JQuery again, right? So basically this is JQuery, and by doing another index on 0, you will get a JavaScript object. So okay, so those two are different things. That is what you need to understand. JQuery object is not actually HTML DOM element. They are two different things. All right, and we looked at ID selector. That's done. So this is about length. So if you like here, say for example, if you're targeting like ID 01 and asking for a length, right? If the length is 0, then that means the element is not found, right? If the length is greater than 0, element is found, right? If you are like interrogating, say for example, first ID dot length will be 1, because we have only one one element here in the div. Here we have only one element with first ID, right? So because of that, it's giving length 1. So if I say some an ID which is not existing, say for example like that, it should give the length 0, right? So this is how this is one of the ways you can check whether a given element is available or not in the document, in the HTML document. Okay, so here is an example again, and okay, so this is again a JQuery, and then you are showing actually the HTML DOM element. Here is another way you can get the attribute. So if now you should be understanding this, right? So in the document ready, so this is a comment, single line comment. This construct allows you to print the value of an attribute of a JQuery object. So what is the JQuery object here? From here to here, right? And then when you say 0, it becomes a JavaScript object, not JQuery, right? And after the dot, you can now call get attribute, which is a pure JavaScript function. Okay, get attribute, and then give the attribute name. And then we have the class selector. It's simple, right? You can give the dot class name, same as that, right? And we will like move into the attribute selector, right? So before moving into the attribute selector, I would like to show some really basic stuff regarding web development and JavaScript in its basics. Say for example, normally we do not we should not specify these styles within the page itself, right? It should go to its own CSS file, which is an external reference, right? So that's the best practice. So what I would do is I would introduce a CSS called maybe global.css, right? So here is a CSS file. So what I can do is I can grab all this and put it in here, global CSS, right? And then come to the page again and reference that CSS here. So how we do that is through a link tag, link CSS, right? The name of the CSS file is, so here it will be like this, link rel style sheet href, and then you should give the CSS file name, which is global.cs. CSS. All right. Now I'll just put it to this side and get the output also to that side. See, we have this running now. So if you did not have this, if I comment this, see, all the styling is gone. If I uncomment this, Control KU, the styles will come because global CSS has the styles, right? So for the div, we have this border and margin and padding. For the first, we have the color blue, and for the second, we have the color purple, right? So that's what's happening here. So that's one of the cleanups, right? And the other cleanup we can do is actually to write our JavaScripts also, we can delegate it to a separate file, right? So that's also possible. Like, say for example, if I create a main.js file or app.js, whatever, some people like that, take out the script content. Okay, we don't need this anymore. Go to main.js and add it here, right? And so if I do that, I need to come to the page HTML and put a reference to that file, right? So how we do that is through a script tag. Script, right? For the SRC, I would say main.js. Okay, in the main.js, we don't have much running here. So how you would see that is like, for example, we can actually tuck in a click event for the first div, right? Just like I showed you earlier. So here you can write a function, right? Function is to alert something. Okay, so in this case, what it will do is, on the document ready, it will it will just target the first ID. In the page you have this first ID, right? This div, and then on click it will alert something. So if I click on here, it should alert something. If I click on here, nothing happens, right? Click here, nothing happens. Click here, it will show this, right? And also there's one more thing. Say for example, now you have many of these things here, right? A lot of code here. So basically you can take all of that code and introduce a separate function process. You can give any name, right? And put all the code there. Okay, and then use that function here, process. Okay, so basically it's like in Java, you are defining a method, separate method, and calling it here, right? So this promotes reusability. If you in some other places, if you want to use the process function, you can use it, right? So it's generalizing basically. So instead of first ID, let's say for example in the page, you have the second ID also, right? So that's second. This is something second. Second. And let's get rid of this. So in this case, if I click on this, I'll get something. I'll click on this, I'll get something second, right? So what it does is, on the document ready, that means the page is ready to take in events and DOM is ready. I am giving a a function, and within the function you are calling this. So this will call this one and attach the click events. Attach the click events to first ID and second ID. Right? So these are all possible, and this is how like you can make the page a bit clean. Okay. So So that's before going into the attributes. So even these ones are, it's really actually it's simple stuff. Say for example, here this one is targeting a given attribute, right? So if I put it to this side and I come to the code, so what you see here is 3 divs, and each of these is attribute, right? That okay. So if I want to target all the divs with the attribute ID, I would say something like this. So I will create another function for that. Okay, function attributes. So I'm going to work on attributes here, right? I don't want this. I will comment this process one. I only want the attribute stuff here. Okay, so in that case I'm going to target the div, right? Target the div with the attribute ID, right? If I see the length of this, say for example, I will console log this, console.log. I need to call this one here on the document ready. Okay. See, what I get is 3. That is because we have 1, 2, 3 divs, and all of the divs have ID attribute, right? So say for example, I want to fetch only the divs that has data name attribute. So that will be like the length will be 1, right? So the length will be 1. So if I take this one and tuck it here, instead of ID, I would say this data name. Okay, and I'm gonna save it. So what I get is 1, right? So because data name is only present in the first div, right? And if I target from the say for example, if I did not have this class, right, I will target the class attribute here. So if I say here, instead of the data name, if I say class, see what I get is 2, because class attribute was present in this div and this div only. Okay, so basically even we can go further and check or target these elements based on the attributes value also. You can give the attribute and the attribute value also, right? So that is how you do this one. The second one, you give the attribute equals and then the value, right? Say for example, I want to target this one, the third one, with the attribute. So I would say class is equal to, and you have to give single quotes here because you are enclosing in double quotes. Within that you have to give single quotes. Okay, so in that case what you would do here is third, right? The class is third. So I should give I should get a length of 1 here, right? And if I want to change something there, say for example the color of it, color to be green, for example. See, the third one gets a green color, right? Let's change this to first and see. See, the first one now became a green. right? So these are like different ways how you can target the attributes, right? So basically you can target for just the attribute itself, or if you want, you can target for a specific value also. Okay, so that is how you do that. And there are, for this one, because attribute and the value, you can have like multiple ways of doing it. So this is like single quoted, right? And yeah, if the outside is single quoted, you have to give the double quotes with for the value. If the outside is double quoted, you have to give a single quote value. And if you really want to use only double quotes, you can have an escape sequence as well. So this is escaping, right? So if you want to use like that one here, that one there, right? Now this is invalid, right? Those red squigglies show that. So in order to escape that, you can give slash and slash. See, now it should work, right? It automatically adjusted it, but this should work. Okay. And so that's attribute targeting. All right, so for this one, these ones also you can do a dot each, because uh, for jQuery objects you can do a dot each, and within a function you can use this. Okay, so even this is something like that. So h2 element which has classes. So here the description also tells that select all elements with tag h2, so that is this, and class attribute. So it has to have an attribute of class, right? So this is how you target that. And this is another way of targeting it, but select all child elements of the elements with id ul2. So here ul2 is an id of an element, okay, and then you have here a space between this and this. That means so after this, whatever following is a child of ul2, child. So something like nested, right? So ul2 is the parent. Within the parent ul, you have elements with attributes name, right? So that's basically parent child relationship. So here selecting descendant elements of an HTML element. So spaces can be used between selectors to define descendant elements. Descendant means child elements of the preceding selector. Okay? So that means here is an example: div space and dot c1. What this means is all child elements of div elements, so of div elements with the class name c1. Okay, so within divs you have to have elements with class c1. So that is what this means. Okay, and here div, within the div you have to have ul. Within the uls you have to have items with name, the class names. Okay, all elements with the class name names which are children of ul elements, which in turn are children of div elements. Okay, so this is how you need to write your answers also. So if you check the previous past papers, you will see questions like this: what does this do? Then how you will have to explain is from starting from the last thing, right? So start from the names. So all elements with the class name names which are children of ul elements, which in turn are children of div elements. So this is a pattern you have to remember, okay, when explaining. Okay, any questions up to this point? Okay, good. So okay, we'll move on with a few slides. So this basically we have almost covered everything up to this point. Okay, if you go through these slides, you will just really understand. Okay, you will basically really understand. You know, it's all similar. So this one, say for example, let's take this one. It is telling dot fruits, right? So that means there should be a parent element with the class fruits, right? Within that element you have to have a an id with L12, right? Within that element, okay, sorry. So this is basically a combining, right? So comma means it's combining elements. I will show that here. Is combining selectors together. So comma in the selector list indicates the or condition, or you know, or, right? So on the left side if you have true and on the right side you have false, the result will be true, right? So if you have false on the left side and false on the right side, the result is false. In all other conditions the result is true, right? So if you have at least one side true, the result will be true. So that's O, right? So here in this case, now say take a look at this one. So this is telling dot button, so that means it is targeting a class of button. O, this comma means O, it is targeting a you know, something with the class option, element with the class option, right? So select all DOM elements with the class name button or option. So that is what this thing is telling, right? It's an or condition. So it will match all the elements with the class button and all the elements with the option, class option, right? And how about this one? So this is basically telling the element with the ID 01 or the elements with class option, right? Select all DOM elements with the ID 01 or class name option, right? So there are actually two things to remember. One is the you know, space thing. So it's basically parent-child relationships, right? So here if I have some divs here inside, okay, with the class inside, say for example inside one inside 2, right? So if I want to target these two divs only, right, what I would say is I would first target the first ID, this div, right? This div, and then I would target the divs within it. Okay, so if I just fill it up with this child 1 and this is child 2, right? I'll just take to the side and this one also to the side, right? So here we have child 1 and child 2. So how to target these two is basically, okay, I'll do it in the attributes itself. Okay, maybe I'll do a separate function. That's fine. Function child child targeting. Okay, how do I target it? First you have to target the parent div, right? Because there are few divs. So the parent div is the first. I can target it with the ID, first ID, right? And within the first ID, all the divs, right? Then I would do, let's say for example, a color CSS, color, blue. Right. So first ID, within the first ID we should have, let's say for example, let's say this one, and I have to call this here, right? See, first ID, so this is the first ID, and within that I am targeting the div. So that means there are only two divs inside, so those two divs will be targeted. If I change the color to blue, you should see the blue here. See, okay, if you want you can change the border, or you do whatever you want with CSS. Okay, so that's how you do. So this space means it's a it's basically telling the descendants, right? So this is the parent, this is children, and within the children, if you want to go further another level, you can do that also. So for example, in the page HTML, within this div, right, if you have a span like this, right, span with a let's say just the span, you have great content. See, it is great content. Now if you want to target this span only, what you can do is come here, within the div you will say span. See, now only the span is getting the blue. So if you want like orange or something, see, now you are targeting actually the span within this parent div. Within that you are targeting all the divs. Inside the divs you have to have spans, right? So basically you are starting with span which has a parent of div, in turn which has a parent of parent with a class, not class, parent with the ID, first ID. Okay, so start from span and elaborate upwards. Okay, so that's one thing, space. And if you want to give like two things the same treatment, say for example, if you want to target this span with orange, and also this second element, say for example second div with an orange, what you can do is do the comma here, right, and maybe dot second. See, so comma means, okay, if you find this guy, with the matching, you do this. If you find dot second with the matching on within the whole document, you do this color change, right? So that's how you can target stuff. So that's the difference between comma and space, right? Space is parent-child relationship. Comma is O, either this or that. And these things we have looked at, combining selectors, right? And then there's another thing which is like AND condition. See, AND condition. So that is basically you have this one, div dot option means there should be a div with the class option, right? It should be a div and it should have the class option. And this one says an element with ID 01 and also with a class option. So these two conditions have to meet, right? Okay, so an example would be, so here say for example, now this one has a class second. Okay, this one also has a class second, say for example, right? So both of them have class second, I will just you know, get rid of this one. Okay, so it has now like moved to its base version, right? And now I want to target this, right, second. So what I would do is dot second dot css, right, color is let's say blue, right? What I get is these two items now are blue, right? So because second class is for those two divs. All right, now I want to differentiate only this guy, right? Only this guy. So to denote that, I would use a, you know, third and this class as well. So this is an ID and this is a class. So how I would do that is in the main JS, I would say, okay, hash third, and it should have a class of blue. See, if that is the case, now this only gets the color blue, right? If you, for example, if you have a different class here, say for example third, right? In that case, this code will not match anything, right? Because it is asking for third, which also has a class of second. So it has to have ID third, but the class is different, right? It's not second, it is third now. So because of that, this condition will not match, because to have a dot function, you have to have the left and the right side should be true, right? Because it's not matching, it will not update this. To make this updated, what you have to do is to give the third maybe. Yeah, so in that case, this gets updated. Okay, so that's AND operator. Now if you go through these notes, you will understand everything, because I have demoed everything actually. And class handling in jQuery. Okay, so there are some stuff that we can do with some helper classes like add class and has class. I'll just demo that as well, and with that we can wrap it up. Okay, so in the page HTML, I'll just get rid of these two children, and let's get rid of this guy also, right? And yeah, on top I will put a button. Okay, button, sorry, button, button, right? So I'll give this button an ID of my button, or change colors. Okay, so that's the ID of this button. I would say change colors. That will be shown up in the markup. Okay, change colors. So for the button also, okay, for the div I will give a you know, in the CSS, for the div I will give a margin top also. So that will be like margin top and bottom 20 pixels and left and right 0 pixels. Okay, so that's how you do that. Margin has, if you just give in the margin, you can specify like top value, right value, bottom value, and left value. So how the margin should work. Okay, so top value will, let's say for example 20 pixel, you can give 20 pixel, and for the right margin, if you want to give 10 pixel, you can give like this. Okay, and there's another shorthand which, if you give two values, it will be like first top and bottom and left and right. So if you, that is what I'm doing here, 20 pixels, that is top and bottom. and 0 pixels for the left and right. Okay, so come here for our original one. So this one is basically what I want to do is, once I click on this change colors, the first one needs to be purple and this one needs to be red. Okay, so first one needs to be purple and this one needs to be red. Okay, so for that I will just define some classes here. Purple color is equal to purple. Okay, and red, I would define color is equal to red. Okay, now by applying these classes here, it should work, right? Say for example, let's get rid of other colors here, so I don't need this stuff. Okay, so it's all like plain stuff, right? Now in the page, if I want to add red to this, what I would do is I would say class red, right? So can you see it became red, right? Now on this one I would say class purple, right? It became purple. So in my case, what I need to do is I need to do this in purple, right? Okay, okay, you have a class here. Yeah, right. Now it's purple. Okay, so in my case, what I need to do is, once I click on this button, this will become red, this will become purple, right? In order to do that, I need to attach a click event to this. So how I would do that is, instead of child targeting, okay, let's create a new function for that. Function change color, right? I'm defining a new function so that I can call it here change color on the DOM ready, right? So in this function, what it will do is on dollar, I need to target the button. How do I target the button? Button had an ID, right? ID of change colors, right? So that is hash and change colors dot click, right? And it will be like this, and then within the click you have to have a function, right? Open a function. Now just say for example, if I click, I need to test if this works. Okay, Shiham, right? Click Shiham, click Shiham, right? So that's working. On click, actually what I want is to change the colors, right? So in that case, so this can be targeted. Let's see how we can target this. This div can be targeted with this ID, right? I'll just get rid of that ID part. This ID, right? First, I can target with first, and this one I can target with ID second. Okay, so in that case, what I would do is first, okay, because it's an ID target, I would say hash first dot CSS, not CSS actually. Now this time it's add class, right? Add class. The first one should be red. Okay, so because of that, I'm adding a class of red. Okay, and similarly, I want to target the second one also, second ID target. So this one. Okay, in the page HTML, the second one, I'm targeting with an ID targeted, and I want to add the class of purple. All right. So if I come here and click on this, see, now it's you know, it's like change, right? So that is how you can, you know, add classes here, right? If you want to add multiple classes, you can do that. Say for example, if you wanted the font to be big, font big, for example, so that's a class. So I would say font size is 20 pixels, right? So if I want to add this class also, I can have a space there and edit. Have a space there, edit. Right? So I click on this. See, the font also get you know, applied, right? So that class also get applied. See, if I didn't put for the second one, see, this only gets applied, right? The font size. So that's about add classes. So just like add classes, you can remove class also, right? So the functionality for that is remove class, like this, right? If it already had purple, it will remove the purple. So in our case, we don't have that. So basically we have this, and click, purple will be added. If I want, I can have another button here. For example, say I'll introduce another button, remove colors, right? Okay, remove colors. I can so here, just like this, I can target it, right? So I'll just copy this and paste it here. So instead of change colors, I need remove colors clicked, right? I want to remove these classes, right? Remove. I added, now I'm removing. MOVE, right? Add, remove, add, remove, right? So if you want to only remove the purples one, you can do this. Only remove the purple one. Remove. See. So that's how you add and remove classes, right? And also you can check whether you know, an element has a class of something. If it has a class, it will be like true, right? If you check for this, if it has purple, it will say okay, it will return the value true. Okay, so that's the, you know, meaning of has class. Is there a class like this? It's asking a question. And okay, so that's has class, remove class, and there's something called toggle class. So with that, actually our lecture is over. So for the toggle class, it's simple, right? So basically, I don't need the remove class also. I will just remove this. Toggle means if there's a class, you will remove it. If the class is not there, you will add it, right? If the class is there, you will remove it. If the class is not there, you will add it. So instead of add class, you will do a toggle class. Okay, toggle class. So I'll just get rid of this big thing. Change colors, change colors. Right? Change colors. Once you click it, it will apply red and purple to this and that. Once you click on that, it will remove it automatically. Right? I hope you got it. And with that, our jQuery thing is over. But you can do many things with jQuery. Just follow some tutorials on YouTube, hopefully. Right? And in particular, try the past papers and try to do these exercises yourself. Okay, maybe you can just rewatch what I did and just follow those. If you have any questions on running these, the development server or having Visual Studio Code, you know, issues, just let me know. So those things should not be barriers to your um, education. So that's about it. We can wrap it up at this point. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, or maybe even with the voice you can do that. Just let me know now. Yeah, do you have any questions? We are going to wrap it up now. Okay, so that's great. It's because it's all clear now. Um, I hope everybody understood everything, and if there is any questions, just post me. Try your level best to complete all the past papers, right? So actually we are done with this, and if you have any questions on the PHP object orientation or connection to databases and stuff like that, you can basically you can refer YouTube. And if there is anything that you want me to personally clear out, just let me know. I'll help you out. Okay, that's done, and let's stop it here. Have a good day.